It was raining at the White House in March of 1981, and U.S. Secret Service agent Tim McCarthy had just bought a new suit.
And it was not the typical polyester suits. If this was a real good suit, it was raining.
You splurged.
I did. And,
hoping to stay out of the drizzle, he and another agent flipped for who would accompany President Ronald Reagan to the Washington Hilton.
We flipped a coin, and I went, which was fine until I got shot.
Mr. President!
John Hinckley Jr. fired 6 shots in a matter of seconds, all aimed at the president.
All I saw was what I thought was a flash of the gun and exactly where it was coming from.
What did you do? You heard it, you turned toward it?
And I knew where the shot was coming from. There was no doubt in my mind, and I turned in that direction.
And just made yourself as wide as you could?
Yeah, kind of.
McCarthy blocked the bullet with his own chest.
It hit my rib, went down through my lung, liver, and diaphragm, and ended up my lower back.
No agent has taken a bullet for a president since. And yet, to this day, McCarthy still regrets that one of Hinckley's shots got by him.
There's a sense that you did your job and a sense that you failed, because he was still shot. In spite of everything that was done, he was still shot, so that's a failure.
Most would call McCarthy's actions heroic, not a failure, especially in light of the not-so-heroic Secret Service headlines of late.
These have been hard times for the once proud Secret Service.
Everybody out right now. Go back. Everybody into the park.
In September, an Army veteran carrying a knife made it over the White House fence and all the way to and through its unlocked front door. That lapse in security followed some lapses in judgment. 3 years ago, a group of agents were disciplined for inviting prostitutes to this hotel ahead of President Obama's trip to Colombia. And then just 4 months ago, agents coming back from a night of drinking were seen disrupting an active bomb investigation.
We don't have an alternative. We've got to fix this.
Elijah Cummings, the ranking Democrat on the House committee that oversees the Secret Service, is one of many Capitol Hill critics demanding that the agency get its act together.
A large part of the Secret Service effectiveness is the image and the reputation. And people believe that they cannot pierce their protective veil. If something tragic happens to the most powerful and influential leader in the world, that's a national security problem.
The paint is barely dry on the door of the man brought in to fix the mess. Joe Clancy, a 27-year veteran agent who was once head of President Obama's protective detail.
Any mistake that we make is critical. We have a zero tolerance for failure. We can't make mistakes.
Are you confident that what you've done since taking over will prevent any more missteps?
Well, there's no guarantees, and every day, all of us wake up with that concern. Those who want to do harm to any of our protectees, they're working just as diligently as we are.
His first order of business, better training.
Hands up, sir. Hands up. Hands up. You bet.
Recruits spend weeks at this Secret Service facility outside Washington. Fence jumper drills have now taken on particular urgency.
Jumper! Jump back!
In addition to the uniform division,
Right there.
Secret Service attack dogs like Rocky train here too.
Bring the dog to me! Bring the dog to me!
It's all about doing better next time.
Bill Glady helps train dogs to attack the attackers, like this.
Please!
We've got to expose the dogs, the handlers, the officers or the agents to different scenarios every day to make sure that we're consistently ready, because the bad guys will change.
There are mock-ups of Air Force One and Marine One here, and Clancy has asked Congress for $8 million to build a full-scale replica of the White House here too, to replace the parking lot they train in now.
We would like to have that so that our people can train with the same exact distances, same type of fountains and bushes.
History, however, shows that most attacks come outside the White House.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas.
Seared into the nation's memory is that awful day in Dallas in 1963, and the quick thinking of Special Agent Clint Hill.
I can still see Clint Hill climbing on the back of that vehicle and forcing the First Lady, Mrs. Kennedy, back into her seat and then lying prone over Mrs. Kennedy.
Mr. Ford was surrounded by his usual complement of Secret Service agents.
When Gerald Ford was shaking hands in Sacramento, it was Special Agent Larry Buendorf who tackled Lynette Squeaky Fromm, a member of the Manson family, during an assassination attempt in 1975. Unbelievably, just 17 days later, another would-be assassin tried to gun Ford down outside a San Francisco hotel.
My God, there's been a shot. There's been a shot.
I mean, it takes a lot to be an agent. It takes a different type of person.
Alan Bilodeau, at one time assigned to protect Vice Presidents Dick Cheney and Joe Biden, now runs assassination drills, like this one.
I think a lot of people have a hard time sort of wrapping their heads around why someone would be willing to take a bullet for somebody else.
It's a heavy toll on not you personally as an agent, but also your family. And just the job description, as you just said, try explaining that to your family, what you do every day on the shift. It's tough.
Remarkably, just one agent has been killed while protecting a president, President Truman. The officer was Leslie Coffelt.
He was standing post right here.
It happened across the street from the White House.
Truman was staying here, President Truman.
He was staying right there.
He was staying in the Blair House from 48 to 52 as they were refurbishing the White House.
Two Puerto Rican nationalists tried to fire their way into Blair House. Coffelt was mortally wounded, and yet,
not thinking of his own injuries, stood up and braced himself so he could steady himself and took a shot and hit the assailant in the ear, as I recall.
But rarely are they in the spotlight. Instead, Secret Service agents are generally on the fringes of history, those unknown faces in the crowd who have a front row seat to world events.
When you're on the job, you're thinking 2 feet in front of you. You're not thinking about history, and you're not thinking about speeches or anything along those lines. You're looking for where the next threat might be.
It was Abraham Lincoln who created the Secret Service 150 years ago. And ironically, it was on the very day he was assassinated. But he never intended the Secret Service to protect him or the office. Its sole purpose back then was to battle the rise of counterfeit money, which by 1865 amounted to as much as a third of all the money in circulation. Today, fighting counterfeiters remains its primary investigative mission, although now it includes hacking and data breaches as well. Most of what these agents do well, we'll likely never know about. And while it may be struggling with current problems, the past 150 years shows the Secret Service has had more successes than failures.
It's up to us to live up to that legacy that those who came before us left us, and the people that we have coming on board I think the American people would be proud of.
As for Tim McCarthy, he never did get his new suit back. He's now chief of police in Orland Park, Illinois.
See you, Casey.
He knows it's what he did that day, 34 years ago, that still stands for the best of what the Secret Service can be.
Did you feel like you were a hero?
No. Well, I thought I did my job. That was most important to me. What I take away from it for the rest of my life is that when I was called upon to do my duty, I did it.